I'm Henry T, and welcome to Henry T GameFace Live. Welcome to GovTV. Welcome to Comcast 26 and the powerful, oh my goodness, I'm telling you, when you're on ProView Network, you have arrived, and we have arrived. And today we are going back in time, not too much time, but we're going back to visit with one of the top 5 all-time high school greats in New Mexico sports history. We're going to visit. He's no longer in Las Cruces. He's now in Carolina, North Carolina. And you remember his name. Man, it's fun to just say his name. Adam Beadle, Las Cruces High School Bulldog star, All-State, All-American, led all the stats everywhere. My opinion, Coach Henson stayed at Las Cruces or New Mexico State and not gone on to Illinois, Adam would have been a big Aggie star. He would have been one of Coach Henson's all-time stars. But Coach Henson got away. Adam went to Texas State and played for a guy named Nolan Richardson. Remember him? 40 minutes of hell at Arkansas. Former Aggie great himself. Close friends with Coach Haskins. A lot of history there. We don't have notes. It's in our heart. When I think of Adam Beadle, the way he played with Ruben Arvizu at Las Cruces High School, oh, I can see it now. They were so good, so agile, team-oriented. And now that I gave you the refreshment in Adam's career and those great days of New Mexico hoops, we go now live to where Adam Beadle lives now in Carolina and bring him back to New Mexico. And I'll tell you this is a big honor for Henry T, because I used to love broadcasting his games. And soon he'll be honored in Marty Seiss's New Mexico High School book. Ladies and gentlemen, here is Adam Beadle. Adam, good morning. Henry T here in Albuquerque. How are you, buddy?
Are you there, Henry?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
Hey, it's good to have you with us today.
Oh, wonderful. Happy to be here.
Man, it seems like yesterday you were slam dunking, hitting the perimeter shot. You had inside moves left and right, fade away. You're one of our greatest high school players ever. Let me give you a congratulations for those great days.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Well,
glad you remember.
I know that Marty Seiss, my close friend, who's writing that great book on New Mexico high school basketball, he's already talked to you. You're going to be featured in there. When you think of the old days, as they're called today, what comes to mind? You're the owner of 2 state championships. Wow. Those are hard to get. What do you think about those days?
Well, we had a good team. We had a bunch of kids that grew up. You know, the Final Four was in 1970 that Coach Henson took his team to, and all the kids in Las Cruces wanted to be basketball players after that, and so we played all the time. You know, every chance we got, and that's developed into a good team on down the line. So.
And every time you played in that Bulldog uniform down there, the red, white, and blue, that gym was packed. I know that gym when you played, in standing room only, the phrase began right there.
That's it. When I was a senior, we had to play Mayfield in the Pan American Center because so many people wanted to go to the game. So it was fun.
What is the highlight of those days for you?
Just the state championships. You know, it was a goal that I set when I was a young kid. And I saw Mayfield's football team won a state championship when I was, I don't know, 11 or 12 and maybe 10. Anyway, I remember seeing Bill Hamilton with the state championship jacket when I was a kid, and I thought, man, I want one of them someday, you know, and just kept working. And of course, I had a lot of help, a lot of good teammates. Wonderful.
Ruben Arvisu. When I think of Ruben Arvisu, in the same thought, I think of you guys being not only close friends, but a great pair duo on the floor.
Yeah.
Is it accurate to call Ruben a close friend?
Oh yeah, he's like a brother to me, most definitely.
When you
Yes,
guys
sir.
chat, when you guys talk, do you revisit the old days?
Yeah, we do. And I go down to Las Cruces. We get a bunch of us together, and you know, glory days. It's fun. You know, they treat me good back home. I will say that.
Oh yeah, you're a legend back home.
You know,
Who
so,
inspired you to be the great student athlete you were in the day? Because you just didn't perform on the floor. You were a great student. You had a lot of friends. Who inspired you to receive all that greatness during that time and the present time in your life? Who were the inspiration people in your life?
my mother and my grandmother were two of the main people that inspired me just to try to do good every day, be the best you can, whatever you're doing. And growing up with them, they didn't really push sports on me, but when I got involved with Little League and whatnot, they always went to the games and rooted for me. And, you know, they always made sure I was doing well in school. So they just, you know, instilled that kind of thing into my life. So I'm thankful every day for that.
How about the great coaches in your life? Tell me about them.
Well, the first great coach I had, his name is Larry Hawkins. He's my junior high coach and just very, very sound, fundamental guy. You know, in fact, one year I played for him, he didn't let me dribble for the whole season. So, because he didn't want me to dribble every time. And it helped me so much because I learned how to handle the ball well. But if I caught the ball and somebody wasn't doing what they were supposed to, I just shot it immediately. Boom. You know, so it worked. And yeah, he was a great coach. And of course, Coach Henson, Coach Rob Evans, Charlie Chris, my friend that took me under his wing and helped me so much when I was a kid. And then on into high school, Coach Whitey Kaufman, Coach Dave Graham, great coaches. And, you know, at the top of the tier was Noel Richardson. Fantastic coach. I mean, he changed my basketball life, you know, as far as how I played. So I've been blessed with very good coaching in my career. So,
Amen. Word on you is that you wore out like two whirlpool machines at Las Cruces because you always shot the ball. Did you have to put a cast on that right arm after the season?
Nah. I tell you what, I'd wear out in the summer though, my fingertips. And that's no kidding. My fingertips had cracked from shooting the basketball so much, and they didn't heal up till school started. That's a true story.
Yeah,
every summer.
I believe it. You shot the ball so smoothly. Give us a lesson right now to kids watching you. You had touch. How do you shoot the basketball?
Well, the main thing is to do it the same every time. You may not do it exactly like one guy or the next guy, but if you do it the same every time. And when you practice, do it like it's game time. You know, don't dilly-dally around. You got to do it like it's game time. That way, when game time shows up, you've been practicing that same shot, you know, going up as high as you can, flicking that wrist, And that's what I tell my kids and anyone else that I'm around that want to know how to become a good shooter. It's just muscle memory, the same time, same thing every time, and it just a lot of practice, lots of practice, and anyone can get good if they want to put the time in my opinion.
When you go back home, are you still recognized as a hero, as the legend that you are? Do people still come up to you and remind you those days?
Yeah, it's they treat me really nice back home. Makes me a little self-conscious, really, but yeah, it's wonderful. It's a good feeling, definitely.
I'm kind of curious. The chili in Las Cruces is delicious, and
oh man,
you miss
I got some in the freezer. Can't do without that, Henry T. Man.
Yeah, that's part of your anatomy, is it not?
Yeah, definitely. I've been eating chili since I can remember. Really, seriously.
Playing for the coaches you played for, 40 Minutes of Hell with Nolan Richardson, what was he like?
He was just, he put so much effort every day into what he was doing. He didn't even have an assistant coach when I played for him. And he was just he treated me like his own son. I love the guy, and he had two people on scholarship in school, and he fed us at his house every weekend just so those kids could go to school. I mean, that's the kind of guy he was. Just him and his wife, both just wonderful people. And he's retired in Arkansas, laying low, I guess. I wish he was still coaching, I miss seeing him.
Literally, what was the workout like with him, and how fired up did he get?
I told you we started with the run, like a 5-mile run with the weight jacket on. And then we worked out for 3 hours after we did that, and I was ready to go to the house after the 5-mile run. Anyway, yeah, we just ran the whole time. Defensive, he was big on defense. It was just all out every day, 3 hours. I mean, it was intense, and it was great for me at the time because we played 50 games that year. It wasn't like the NCAA. The junior college played a lot of games, and it was interesting. We should have won the championship. Fell short, but
wow.
Yeah, he's an awesome coach. That's why he's in the Hall of Fame. That's why he's won. He won it all: NIT, NCAA, and National Junior College Championship.
Yeah.
I believe he's the only coach that's ever done that, and he's a good person, good man.
Did you follow Coach Richardson's career at Arkansas?
Oh yes, definitely. He came to Austin every year, and we'd go down there and sit by the team. He'd get us tickets, and we'd go crazy. And the people from Austin would, get pissed off at me, but what can you say? It was great. And Texas had some good teams. They had some pretty good battles back then. So anyway, yeah, I haven't seen him last time I saw him was at UTEP. My daughter was playing at UTEP, and there he was. He just happened to be in town. So that was like, I think 5 years ago. So, yeah. And he was standing right up there by my daughter after the game was over. And I called her up and I said, hey, ask that old boy that's standing by you if he knows Adam Beadle. Anyway, so it was a big reunion, really cool. And that worked out pretty neat,
What surprise out of that whole era is that you did not play at UTEP for Coach Haskins. Tell me, at least he tried to recruit you. You don't let an Adam Beadle get away.
Yeah, he tried to recruit me. Offered me a pair of cowboy boots from Tony Lama. But we went down there when I was playing for Nolan. We went down there and played UTEP's team, and we beat them twice. And old Coach Haskins he was mad. And they had at the time UTEP had a couple of those guys from Eastwood, they were state champions in 1976 with the big school Texas championship. But we never did get to play them. But it was fun to play against those guys in the college situation, and beat them to boot. that was an interesting thing, So, but and we went and played in Juarez too. Coach Richardson, he's something else. Just met all those guys from the championship team that 67 or whatever year it was. Bobby Joe Hill.
Oh.
Yeah, all those guys, man, they loved Coach Richardson. They came and we met him at the hotel. Just very fortunate to be where I was at the time, Basketball history, right?
Really? When you think of that great team and you were a kid, they go beat Kentucky for the national championship.
Yeah.
Haskins and all those famous players. And they make a movie recently, Glory Road.
Right.
Man, what are your thoughts about that era of basketball, that UTEP team?
It just was amazing, Coach Haskins he broke the color line, and it just made basketball, started it off to what it is today. It's amazing when you think about it. And the movie I thought it was really well done. And I'll never forget that. It was, being a little kid, seeing that, and then actually being a basketball player and getting to be around those people was even more mind-boggling for me, So,
here we are, several years later, Adam, reminiscing, and the technology today allows us to use Zoom and all gadgets. Things have changed for the better. Isn't that remarkable how we can go to you in North Carolina? I'm here in Albuquerque, and they are like you're right next door.
It's amazing. Absolutely. What a blessing.
Amen.
I can't believe I'm on your show, man. I'm just tickled pink, man. That's wonderful. Thank you.
Real, I'm just going to say the same thing to you. Every day in my business, I get more surprises, pleasant surprises every day. And the technology today to allow me to interview you, I've been seeking you out for years, and now we just press a button and there you are.
Amazing. I know it.
Dream come true for Henry T. that I can interview Adam Beadle, one of my all-time heroes in New Mexico.
Oh, thank you, Henry T. That makes me, I take that for a high, high compliment. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, amen. I hope Ruben is watching today.
I don't know, but if I'm going to send him a copy of it,
Describe Ruben Arvizo for us. We saw him play with you. Describe this guy.
He's just a happy guy, good person, salt of the earth. Just a very, very. He's kind of I'm a more outgoing. He's a little bit more introverted, but just a good person, and hell of a ball player to have on your team. Great inside, great rebounder, everything. And as far as since we've gotten older, just a great friend. Like a brother. But I talk to him on the phone. Once or twice a month at least.
You talked about your daughter taking over where you left off. Tell us about her greatness as a person, as a student athlete.
Well, they both went to college and played basketball. And my oldest daughter Heather, she's the head basketball coach at Travis High School. She played at Campbell University in North Carolina, and my youngest played at Sam Houston State there in Huntsville, Texas, and she's still playing in Romania. So
Wow.
she's been playing in Europe for
Maybe
3
we can
years.
put those photos back up. Could you see the photos of your daughters? We're going to put the photos of your daughters back up here. There they
Yes,
are.
sir. That's them. That's my pride and joy right there, Henry.
Who's on your right in the blue?
That's Angela. That's Heather. That's Heather. She's the oldest. And then to my left is Angela. She is my youngest. So, yeah, they're both right around 6'3". Angela's probably a little bit taller.
Wow.
So, yeah, they got a little height from me anyway.
Yeah, amen. And the competitive nature of yours.
Right, right. So
Wow.
I'm proud as I can be of them. Let me tell you.
Hey, just between you and me, Adam, in the backyard, when you would take on either one of them, one-on-one in the backyard, what was that like?
Well, we didn't really play one-on-one, but we shot all the time. Played the horse. I taught him how to shoot. Told him what it took to be a basketball player. If you wanted to work hard enough, you could do it. You got the physical capabilities, and they both worked real hard, and got to go to college and play, and they were both successful. Heather played in Denmark for a while. Angela's still playing, and Heather came back, and she's a real good basketball coach. She's got a big heart, man. She loves those kids, and I'm just, what can I say?
Were you a good parent? Would you sit and be quiet and behave yourself in the stands, or would you be yelling at the referees?
Yeah, I'd yell at them. Yeah, if I said anything different, my daughters would be, Dad, you didn't tell them what it was like. Yeah, I was pretty loud sometimes, but it was fun, man. Let me tell you, I love watching them.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
the highlight of my life, watching my son play athlete.
Oh, man. I hear you.
Yeah.
Doesn't get much better than that, right?
Oh, no way. No way. It was
Yeah.
fun being an athlete, but it was more fun watching him play.
It is. It's just, when you're a parent, it's an amazing thing to be a parent anyway. But when they're out there competing and you want to see them do good and you're yelling for them, it's a wonderful feeling, Henry.
So tell us about now, North Carolina. What took you there?
My girlfriend lives here. She's from Las Cruces, and we've been together about 4 years, and I like it up here. It's nice, and just
Is
kind
she
of.
a Tar Heel?
Pardon me?
Is she a Tar Heel? North Carolina Tar Heel?
No, she's an Aggie, New Mexico State.
Okay. Once an Aggie, always an Aggie. Yeah. Well, do you still
That's it, baby.
Aggies and Coach Jans today via, the networks they're on, all the time?
Yeah, we're not,
You get
Coach Jans is a heck of a coach. I mean, they should have knocked off Georgia. Remember, if they'd have made those free throws, they might have made it down to the Final Four. They've got a good program going on again, so I'm happy for them.
Amen.
Well, yeah.
As we end our program today, what is it you want to tell your friends and New Mexico fans? Is there something in your heart that you want to convey to anybody in the state today?
I just want to tell everybody to stay safe, and to all my friends and family, and God bless each and every one of you. And that's about it, Henry. And to you, my friend.
Are you good on the computer?
Not really. You know, I use my phone for everything. Uh, I haven't really got into the computer that heavily because, well, for one thing, they weren't going on that much when I was a kid, you know. So, yeah, I know how to use one.
Yeah, they have internet there in Carolina?
Excuse me?
Do they have internet
What?
in Carolina?
Oh, yeah, barely. Yeah, they got it.
Of course, I'm just joking. I don't want no mean mail from Carolina now.
Nah.
I love watching them play. Uh, I was a Dean Smith fan, and of course now Roy
Yeah,
Williams, and I went
definitely.
someday to visit the Dean Dome and all of that.
Right.
I'll make it back your way one of these days. And
Right.
when I go back there, Adam, I got some brand new sneakers. I got a brand new ball. We'll go down to the Dean Dome
Uh-oh.
car, and we'll sneak in and we'll use their court. You and me, one on one, nobody else around, and we'll see
Okay.
what you have, brother.
All right, brother. You got it. And when I'm up in Albuquerque, same thing goes, my man. Well, I'm gonna be up there. I'm gonna look you up, Henry T. When I'm up there, it'll be next year. Seriously.
Hey, the green chili's on me, coach.
Right on.
Yeah, amen. Well, I know we're almost out of time. We got about a minute left, Adam. I'm going to let you have the floor and say hi to anybody, say something out of your heart, gratitude, whatever. You've got the stage right now.
All right. I just want to say thank you to my family and to my two daughters for just being wonderful people. And they've never given me any problems. And I'm so thankful to the good Lord that everything has worked for them. And, you know, I'm just a real thankful person. I told you the other day that I went down 3 years ago. They didn't think I was going to be back, even make it. And then they said I wouldn't walk. So it took me 8 months to walk out of a hospital, Henry. And every day I'm thankful to be around doing my thing, man. Just thankful as I can be. And I know you can relate to that. So that's the main thing, you know, and God bless everyone and stay safe we're almost got a vaccine, man. Everybody stay safe.
You know, that's several times in our conversation, you have referred to your faith. If it's not too private, tell us about that deep faith of yours.
Well, I've been believing in Jesus since I was a little kid. My grandmother read me the Bible when I was a little kid, and I've just always believed. I mean, I asked the good Lord to help me be a basketball player when I was about 12 years old, and got better than I ever dreamed of. That's all I can tell you, Henry. I believe, faith. That's how come I'm here right now.
Wow.
You know, the good Lord. You know, I went up in the air one time when I was real sick, and he sent me back down, and he said, "Don't worry about nothing. Just try your best every day." And eight months later, I walked out of the place. They couldn't believe it. So
No,
I'm a living proof, my man.
keep that faith, because you're going to need to pray the day that I play you in the backyard or the pit or whatever.
Oh, I'm going to spend some time praying before that happens.
God bless you, Adam. What a pleasure.
Hey, it's been great, Henry. Thank you so much for having me on, man.
A thrill for us. We'll meet again soon, okay?
Sounds good. God bless you. Thank you again.
Adam Beadle, one of the greatest all-time high school players in the state of New Mexico. And what a nice guy, too, huh? Leads the league in being just in kindness. He leads the league in points, rebounds, and kindness, and being a great dad. What more do you ask for? And the way he expressed his faith, wow. We move on now to another special friend, and you know him well. He's been a journal writer for many, many years. He's a nice guy. Integrity plus. Oh my goodness. And how his creativity comes over and the way he expresses that integrity is a story in itself. I love visiting with this man. You know him well. His name is Wright. When I read his stuff, I say, wow, every time I read his stuff. He was probably recruited to most every top newspaper in the country. Creativity's his middleman. When I read his headlines, I say, gosh, that's perfect. How did he come up with that? When I read his first chapter of every story, I'm in awe. I'm already fired up. I can see. He gives me this conceptual skill. When I read his stuff, I can see the picture because he's so eloquent with his typing, with his imagination. And you don't hear his voice, but you can see the picture. And wow, there's the story. A Lobo game, Indy 500, horse racing. He loves boxing. Nobody probably followed the great Johnny Tapia and Danny Romero or the boxing scene period better than Wright. And man, I'll tell you, when he's writing that story, man, you can see and feel the fists in the air, colorful. Now we go to Wright. And today, ladies and gentlemen, if you see Rick, wish him a happy birthday. We'll go to Wright right now and see how he's doing. And I think he's ready to go. Wright, we're going to call you up, buddy. Are you there?
Hey, Henry, can you hear me?
There he is, Wright.
Okay. This is my third Zoom call ever, Henry, so I just wanted to make sure I was doing it right, that you can hear me and everything.
Man, you look great. You sound great. Congratulations on a great career. But first, happy birthday.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
And I will go to, this is absolute fact. He hasn't given up the throne quite yet or passed his gavel quite yet because you need to be in retirement to do that. But he, in fact, is the dean of all reporters in the great state of New Mexico. You're the dean, Rick. Congratulations.
Well, Henry, I think I've actually passed that gavel to you. I did retire in 2018, came back part-time, but, which is not the same. And, I think that status goes to you, buddy.
Oh, man. Well, I'd graciously accept it because it's you passing it. I've loved your stuff all your career. I want to go back, way back when you made that decision. I want to be a writer. I love sports. What compelled you? What was that catalyst that said, this is the day I commit to being a writer? Do you remember?
Well, it's kind of interesting, Henry, because back in high school, my mother, may she rest in peace, was pushing me to write for the school paper, the Mazzano school paper. And she said, hey, you love sports and you love to write, why not? And I said, well, I wasn't an athlete, unlike you, Henry. I wasn't a stud athlete like you were. They said, no, I just didn't feel worthy. And it quite honestly, it took me a lot of years to realize that that's not how it works. The great film reviewers couldn't necessarily act or direct, but they loved film and they loved to write. So it's kind of the same process. And to be honest, my back was almost to the wall. It was like, what am I going to do for a living? And I was went to UNM, majored in Latin American studies, went in the Army for 3 years. Okay, what am I going to do? So I went back to school in journalism because a friend of mine did that. And at the time, I was expecting going to try to use my Latin American studies in combination with journalism and maybe be a hotshot foreign correspondent. Then I enrolled in a class called the Practicum, which was the intern program at UNM. And Professor Crow said, "Hey, does anybody want to work for Journal Sports? They don't usually take an intern, but they're going to this year." Nobody else's hand went up, so I raised my hand, and that the rest is history, as they say.
Just raise your hand, and now
Yep.
you're committed.
Yep, that's how it started, and I look back with fondness on that decision.
Oh, we do too, because
Thank
we
you.
love the way you write. I marvel every time I read a story by you. It doesn't matter where you go, what you write, what subject matter. You've been around the world in Arkansas twice, writing stories. I mean, I've seen you at Indy, boxing matches, Lobo games, endless activities, and I still watch you. Your concentration. You can't bother Rick Wright at a game, because if you do, he's not a mean guy. It's just he won't hear you. He won't look at you. He is focused in the game. Is that accurate?
Well, it's kind of funny that I see my fellow writers at games just laughing and talking and having a good time. I'm writing in my head the whole time, and I just everybody's different. That's understood.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm I realize I've put people off sometimes that way, because there were people who knew me socially who encountered me on the job and said, "Well, is he mad at me?" or that kind of thing. But yeah, I really right from the opening kickoff, opening tip, opening bell, whatever it is, I'm writing in my head, just trying to react to what happens and trying to decide what I'm going to lead with. So again, everyone's different, and that's just kind of the way I've had to do it.
Yeah, but it's worked well for you. And the thing that I admire is your incomparable focus ability to just block it all out and just there's the game. And now, like you say, you're writing the whole time. What literally is the process? You walk into the press box or you're at courtside, and when does it all begin?
Right from the start, I've always wanted to keep, if it's basketball or football, I've always wanted to keep my own play-by-play. That's mostly for deadline purposes, because the official stats don't come up right away. But it just keeps me involved, keeps my mind from wandering. And in the meantime, as I said, I'm always look at what's happening. Is the lead, where's the lead going to come from? Is it going to come early? Is it going to come late? Is it going to be a competitive game or not? It's kind of a puzzle they have to put together.
Back in the heyday of Lobo men's basketball, there's many versions of heyday to a lot of people, but 77, 78, I talk about it a lot. People in my business will say, "Henry, you talk about it too much. There's other teams." But to me, there'll always be something special about that era. Coach Norm Ellenberger, Mr. Showtime. In my opinion, at that time, pound for pound, he was the best college basketball coach in the country. Had he been at the Dean Dome, had he been in that position with Dean Smith, had he been at Syracuse, had he been the man at Duke instead of Coach K, I think Coach Ellenberger would have been a superstar in college basketball coaching. That's how much respect I had for him and his coaching abilities. But that era, it was special to me. How about to you? What does that era mean to you, Rick?
Well, Norm was able to combine Bob King's pressure defense with breakneck offense. You'll remember Coach King's style was deliberate, and Norm was able to just marry those two, the pressure defense and the fast break. And that year was just utterly phenomenal. I was at the Journal at the time. My responsibility was in the office at the time. I didn't actually cover any Lobo games that year. I saw a few, uh, but yeah, that was just an incredible team, and I'll never forget that loss to Cal State Fullerton that pulled the plug on the whole thing. I remember Roger Ruvalo covered the team that year, but for whatever reason, he did not go to Phoenix to cover that game. Bart Ripp went instead, and Roger was in the office, and I'm sure you remember Roger.
Oh yeah.
And he was just, you know, he was at a loss for words. You mean they're not going to win? This is over? I mean, you know, everyone thought they were going to come back to the pit and play in the regional for a chance to go to all the way. They were that good, you know that, Henry. And that was certainly, losing a basketball game is not a tragedy, but that's as close to a tragedy as we've ever seen.
Wow. Amen. You know, the life of Johnny Tapia was conveyed in such an eloquent, accurate way by you. He was a colorful athlete, a colorful personality that lived a very difficult life. And I think you brought that story to the forefront so accurately, so interesting. Congratulations.
Well, thank you, Henry. At the risk of quoting a rival reporter, I think John O'Rourke, who worked for the Tribune back in the day, probably said it best when he wrote, "If you can't write about Johnny Tapia, you can't write," because you know he was a phenomenon. He truly was, and you know I loved that kid, and I always thought of him as a kid, even in his 40s, before he passed. Yeah, I mean, you know, he had a hard life growing up. You know, it seemed like it got better, but there was a self-destructive gene in there somehow, and the good thing is that he overcame it to have just an utterly tremendous Hall of Fame career, and I have such great memories of that young man.
Yeah. Amen. Dig a little deeper for us right now and what made him great. Because when I talked about Johnny Tapia, his athleticism was incomparable. He could also play basketball. He could have been a point guard at his high school. He was filled with athleticism. And boy, was he overrun with personality. Give me your description of Johnny.
Henry, you know, I actually did play basketball with him once at the boys at the Wells Park, just a pickup game. I realized later he should have been in school that day, but instead he was playing basketball. And he was talented. You know, he was only 5'6", so he had that against him. But yeah, just a terrific athlete, so quick. He was, where boxing was concerned, he was almost a savant. He just came so naturally to him. Didn't matter who his trainer was. He had some great trainers, but he himself used to say that I changed trainers like I changed socks. You know, and there were so many times when he listened to the trainer's instructions between rounds. Okay, then he'd just go out and do what he felt like doing. He'd get into debates. His original pro trainer, Paul Chavis, whom later he had a falling out with, sadly, but they would get in heated debates between rounds. Johnny, you need to stay away from this guy. You know, just win the fight and box this guy. But Johnny always wanted to give the fans a show, and he would take punches he didn't have to take just to do that. So he was just one of the most entertaining fighters of his generation, and popular worldwide, and for good reason. He was just a wonder in the ring, truly. Probably the best 115-pounder who ever lived. Seriously.
Wow, from right here in Albuquerque. You know, I remember the relationship with Paul Chavez and Johnny, and I feel so proud of the fact that Johnny had thousands of TV interviews. His very first was with Henry T. in front of Channel 13 when the very first day, he told the world he wants to be a professional fighter. He had just been crowned Golden Gloves champion, and they were taking that next step. And that very day, you could see the champion in him because he was such a positive, not overconfident, but he just had that look that he knew where he was headed. He was going to be a world champion. There was no doubt about it. Did you get the feeling from him the same thing?
The first time I saw Johnny was at the State Golden Gloves in 1983. Uh, he won the state title at 106 pounds. He looked really good, but I didn't know how good he was because there wasn't a lot of competition in New Mexico at 106 pounds. And then, but then a couple of months later, he won nationals at Tingley Coliseum at 106. And that's when I, truly realized how great this kid was, how good he was, and how far he could go. And he was able to push back his personal demons over the years to become the truly great professional fighter that he was, 5-time world champion.
You also covered Kid Dynamite, Danny Romero. He always had his dad with him. He always had the guidance next to him that Johnny never had. Johnny was out there alone, beating the streets and changing managers, like you say, like he changed socks. But Danny Romero always had his dad there and his mom there. A little different. He built him a ring in the backyard. He always had the conveniences to advance. Good people around him like Ron Koch and others. How about if there's a comparison you want to make, or just the description of Danny and how great he became?
Yeah, I think it's kind of, it may be sad in a way that people don't remember how great a fighter that Danny Romero was. He was tremendous. He was at 112 and 115. He was probably the hardest puncher in those divisions in his youth. Too many people, I think, just remember him for having lost to Johnny, and that should not be the way he's remembered. He should be remembered as the great world champion that he was, and as well as for the good in the community that he continues to do with his Hideout Boxing Club, where he works with at-risk kids and helps them over the hurdles to become contributing people in our city. So yeah, Danny is. He may not. I don't know that he's ever going to be a Hall of Famer, as Johnny is, but he's a Hall of Fame person, and I will always appreciate the chance to have covered him throughout his career and beyond.
Oh yeah. When you think his relationship with his father, inseparable, what do you think about?
Yeah, I mean, his dad gave Danny a tremendous base in the sport. I watched them train years ago. He trained him to gave him great balance in the ring, great punching base. His power was little Danny's power was inborn. He was blessed with it, but his dad's training made his punching even more devastating because he just, his footwork, just the way he used his legs and not just his arms to throw punches. His dad did a wonderful job with him. He really did.
This community's been blessed with sports legends, Johnny, Danny, the Unzers, of course, and you watched the Unzers all your life because you've been here all of your life, as I have been. Other sports figures that you have covered, and we talked about Lobo football, Lobo basketball, but just being here in this community. How do you accurately describe Albuquerque as a sports town? Is it in fact that?
Well, I think Albuquerque is a great sports town. It's, I mean, uh, it's a city of the size where our our sports are, Lobo basketball is our major league team. Uh, Lobo, I mean, Bob Foster, Johnny Tapia, Danny Romero, uh, they were just giants. It's hard to think of Johnny and Danny 115 pounders as giants, but they were giants in their support and tremendously popular here in town. It's a perfect, Albuquerque's always been a perfect size. It seems to me to have sports be as important as it is, maybe more so even than in some bigger cities. I mean, yes, LA, Dallas, New York, they have major league sports and they're hugely popular with the citizens there. But, really, I mean, sports wise, it's hard to imagine anything being more important to the populace than Lobo basketball has been, right? It's just, it's all consuming to our detriment at times, but in general, we're just so fortunate to have those things in our lives that are just fun. Bring us away from our daily lives, our daily worries. In particular now amidst the pandemic, that we can just enjoy. And sports has always been that outlet for so many of us.
I
And
would like just to ask you if you watched the football game last Saturday night with Wyoming and the Lobos and new coach Danny Gonzalez. And this new era has now begun. Maybe on Saturday night, being extra dramatic as I can be, the Danny era has begun. Everything, Lobo football is born again. Is that exaggerated? Am I over dramatizing that? How do you feel?
well, to be honest, Henry, when Danny was hired, I had a conversation with someone in my office, and I mean, obviously there was a tremendous amount of enthusiasm, native son coming back, changing the culture. Everybody was excited. I had a conversation with someone in the office, and I told that person I was concerned that if this initial season didn't go well, that that enthusiasm would not just die; it would be reversed, and people would be unhappy. And we've seen that through some of that through these first 5 games. And at the time that individual asked me, well, don't you think people will understand that this team has won 8 games in the last 3 years? And I said, no, no, I don't think so. Human nature is just like that. I'm not saying our sports speak up section is a good sample of what people are thinking, but we've seen people saying, oh, Danny Gonzalez isn't getting it done. He wasn't the right choice, whatever, et cetera, et cetera. So in my opinion, for me, this team had already exceeded my expectations before the Wyoming game. Because I'll be honest, I was expecting an absolute train wreck when they opened against San Jose State, just because coming off a 2-10 season, most of the team the same, most of the personnel the same, coming off that team, having very limited practice time because of the pandemic, the New Mexico's rules for the pandemic were preventing them from practicing fully for so long. I really thought that was going to be a horrific opening game, and yet they were competitive. They lost by 6. They could have won the game, and I felt throughout the process, even when they hit the skids against Air Force and Utah State, which is, I didn't predict that, but it is predictable. Sometimes you take 2 steps forward and 3 steps back. That's just the way it works when you're trying to rebuild. But then they jump up and beat Wyoming as an 18-point underdog. And I have to say that I think Danny and his staff and the players have exceeded my expectations, even at 1-5. And I think the future looks very good.
The Lobo men's basketball program, the Pit, Used to be 18,100. Now it's a little more than 14,000. From 18,000 to 14,000. The atmosphere to me is not the same. Nothing's really the same. Can that program be rebuilt to where we're really excited again? I mean, literally excited again. Can it return to that?
There's no doubt in my mind that it can, and honestly, I believe it will. You know, I think Paul Weir has had a really good recruiting year. There's a lot of talent on this team. Uh, he's under this. He has the same disadvantages that Danny Gonzalez had. You know, preseason, not being able to practice fully, having to leave New Mexico to do that and to play. But I think the talent is there. I think Paul Weir is a really good coach. I think things blew up on him last year for a lot of reasons that we don't need to go into now. But yeah, I think all the tools are there, and I think Lobo basketball will come back to where it was. I agree with you. Is that the pit renovation did not do what was intended. First of all, it didn't bring NCAA tournaments back to Albuquerque. In fact, it had the opposite effect, it turns out. And yeah, 14,000 is not the same as 18,000. There's no question. You know, it's a generation thing too, generational thing. You know, I don't talk for a living, Henry. Sorry, but yeah, I mean, you know, so many of the people that we knew from the 70s, the King Ellenberger era, when it was just the pit was just the place to be. We're older now, and some of us are gone, and the new generation is, you know, I mean, when we were kids, video games didn't exist. You know, sports was our thing. Whether we were playing or watching or reading the paper, watching TV, it's not the same now, and it may never be the same again. But I do think if Paul Weir can put a highly competitive team on the court, that that the pit will be packed again, and it will be, if not like it was in the 70s, it'll be close to it, and I'm looking forward to that. I do think it'll happen.
We have a minute left. I know you. I've known you for years. I know the great woman in your life, Barbara. She is very special. I know she's your rock every day. If you don't mind, if it's not too private in our last minute, describe your beautiful wife, Barbara.
You know, I might be able to do better than that, Henry. I'm going to try and get her over here. Hey,
Yeah.
Hey, Barb.
What a great lady, everybody.
Barb, can you come here for a minute? Guess not. She can't hear me. She's been on a work Zoom call of her own, and I thought she was off, but she's not responding. Yeah, you're right, Henry. You know Barb from the Boys Club. She worked for Bobby Gibbs at the Boys Club and the Coaches Association, and you know, the funny thing is, I actually talked to her once back in those days, and I didn't know her. She didn't know me. I remember talking to this. I called for Bobby and talked to this woman with a faint New York accent, and you know, we went in and yeah, I met her. I was looking for some material from Bobby, and this woman with very short hair, you remember that, gave me the material that I asked for, and when we met once again in 1984, I didn't remember her. She certainly didn't remember me. So basically, all the pieces fell together that we had actually met once before. And she's, like, as you say, she's my rock. Anybody who knows me before and after knows the effect that Barbara has had on my life. You know, I'm the same person before and after, but I'm so much better in so many ways because I was so fortunate to meet her and marry her. So you're right, Henry. I will say hello for you.
What a story. God, yeah, amen. What a story. God bless you. Thank you for your time. We're out of time. We're going to go next time about an hour because there's so much more I have to ask you. Happy birthday, Rick Wright.
Thank you, Henry. Very much appreciated. Take care, buddy.
Take care. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you to our sponsors. Thank you to our guest today and our great producer, Jimmy Tran, and the great crew of ProView Network. We'll say bye for now. See ya. Man, I appreciate all of you. And we'll see you next time right here, same place. Thank you to all those great sponsors. See you soon. Take care of yourself.